Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump has postponed a rally in Chicago after a huge crowd of protesters stormed the venue. Scenes of chaos, including fistfights, erupted after the campaign team announced that Trump would not be making an appearance.
For the safety of all the tens of thousands of people that have gathered in and around the arena, tonight's rally will be postponed until another day.
We're now joined live by Professor of International Affairs Daniel Shaw from the Anti-War Answer Coalition. Hi there, Daniel. Thank you for joining us today. So I wanted to ask you, Trump rallies have been disrupted before, but never so severely that it had to be canceled altogether. And this is the second fight at the Trump rally in one day. There was one earlier in St. Louis, Missouri. What do you think is behind all this?
Well, Chicago stood up, and Chicago stood up for all of America and for all of the world. We want to send a clear message from Orlando to Chicago to Lowell, Massachusetts, to Saturday Night Live. Wherever Trump rears his ugly fascist demagogic head, we're going to be there with a mass movement, with the Answer Coalition, with other groups standing strong against Donald Trump and everything that he represents.
But Trump has been getting a lot of media attention already, and with this latest development, he may be getting just more attention from the media. So the protesters could actually be helping Trump. Do you agree with that?
Well, Fox News immediately put him on the air for a half an hour. So even though he was shut down in Chicago, the mainstream media continues to be complicit with his campaign and to promote his message, acting as a media microphone and putting out these poisonous ideas, the anti-immigrant hysteria, his anti-women views, his anti-LGBT views. And Trump claims that he's a unifier. In fact, when he's the most divisive politician in all of America, but the effect that it has is it brings the movement back into the streets. It brings the LGBT movement together with the Black Lives Matter movement, together with the immigrant rights movement. And we're going to continue to confront Trump, this coward, no matter where he is.
So do you think the future rallies that Trump will be holding will also be disrupted and potentially be canceled like the one today? And if that happens, could those incidents be damaging for his campaign?
No question, whether it's small town America or a big city like Chicago, the protest movement is going to be there. Trump's effect with this semi-fascist campaign is to reinvigorate the protest movement. And it's our responsibility, our historical responsibility, to come in the image of Martin Luther King and all of the great leaders before us and to stand up and denounce everything that Trump represents.
So next week, big states such as Florida, Illinois, Missouri, North Carolina, and Ohio will be voting. Do you think today's development will affect Trump's chances of winning those primaries in those states?
Well, I think many people, the quote-unquote working men and women, are very confused where much of Trump has his base. Trump, this demagogue-in-chief, has tried to present himself as a candidate of the everyday working man with this empty slogan of "Make America Great Again." And he's resorted to this blame game where he blames immigrants and he blames Muslims. And he wants to return America to this mythical glory day, which has never existed for poor people in this country. So we want to continue to expose what Trump truly represents, which is a long history of racism, of scapegoating, and of white supremacy in this country.
Now, I want to talk about there's this racial aspect to some of the disturbances at Trump rallies, such as white supporters against Black and Hispanic protesters. Why do you think is that?
Well, the New York Times ran a headline today that the scariest political act and the most courageous political act in America right now is standing up at a Trump protest. And that's what we've seen over and over. Courageous African-American protesters and other protesters sacrificing everything. And then Trump supporters openly bragging about giving them beatings, saying that they should have killed these individuals. So we see the openly fascist character of this movement.
Now, Daniel, I want to go back to the Chicago, what's happening in Chicago. Trump said that he called off the rally so people wouldn't get hurt or worse. But do you think by canceling the event, he's actually made the protesters and the supporters more angry?
I think this will give new life to the protest movement. I think it proves that he's a coward and that whenever he's confronted, he's going to be outnumbered, that there's more people in this country who are politically alert and conscious and who come out into the streets to confront this big mouth in chief, this demagogue in chief, because we know Trump represents a fantasy, and its demagoguery, it doesn't speak to the true interests of the working people of this country.
Now, Daniel, it appears that Trump is the front runner for the Republican Party. Do you think anyone can stop him at this point, judging from what's happening in Chicago now?
Well, the Republican field is very weak. The other candidates are seen as establishment candidates. Trump has tried to present himself as untethered or unattached to the typical Republican establishment or the ruling class, and that's true to some extent, though Trump is the very personification of republicanism and of reactionaryism in this country. The very fact that he's worth $10 billion plus money that he made fleecing tenants and swindling tenants and also exploiting labor, much of which was immigrant labor. This is not our representative, and he's going to be exposed for who he truly is.
But do you think what's happening right now in Chicago will further fuel this divide between Trump supporters and people who are against him?
Oh, no question. The scene in Chicago right now, it's ongoing, is very divisive. And many people who rightfully feel alienated and want true change, they're looking in the wrong places for change, and they're falling for this, the demagogue. And it's our responsibility within the anti-war movement, within the Black Lives Matter movement, to raise consciousness about what's truly behind the unemployment, the fact that wages are going down, and the fact that people can't make a living in this country. So that's our responsibility, to expose that Trump is not the solution, but the very essence of the problem.
Well, do you think that following the future votes in other states and in other Trump rallies, similar chaos will take place in those events?
Certainly that's what it looks like right now. Many people are standing with him, particularly in the South and in other backward layers of the working class, the white working class, which has a long history of ugly anti-Black violence and racist violence. And that's what Trump is tapping into. And just as in the past, when we've confronted the Klan and the Minutemen and these other anti-immigrant white supremacist outfits, we're going to continue to confront them wherever they rear their ugly head.
Well, certainly interesting to hear your thoughts, but that's all the time we have now, unfortunately. That was Daniel Shaw, Anti-War Answer Coalition. Thank you for speaking to us today.
Thank you.